Now, interview guest on Sounds of the 70s. It's a two-part interview, and it features Cliff Richard. And this year marks 55 years since Sir Cliff Richard, OBE, first released an album. And since that first album, simply called Cliff, he's gone on to release a further 99. He's become the third best-selling singles artist in UK history. More than 130 singles, albums and EPs have made the top 20, more than any other artist. And is the only singer to have had a number one hit in 5 consecutive decades. Huge number of records he has, enormous number of awards. All began back in 1958 with the B-side of a record that was flipped over. Schoolboy Crush was the A-side. The B-side was called Move It, and John Lennon and many others who know about music credit Move It as the first ever British true rock and roll record. And unlike many singers who started in the early 60s, late 50s, when the Beatles came along, he still managed to survive, and he's had an amazing career. He became an active Christian in 1964, which definitely made his career more difficult, but still he continued and eventually found that he was, for a while, going to give up being a rock and roll singer or a pop singer because of his Christianity, but over the years has found a balance between that and his career. He came second in the Eurovision Song Contest in 1968 with the song Congratulations. These days, when they're voting, the cameras are always on the artist who performed the song. Back in 1968, nobody could see Cliff because he was so nervous he locked himself in the loo while the voting was going on. The song actually came second, although there was a lot of talk at the time that General Franco had fixed the contest, so Spain won, and they could therefore host the contest in the next year. In 1973, he entered Eurovision again. This time he conquered his nerves by taking some Valium. And his manager had great difficulty waking him up in order to perform the song. And that song, Power to All Our Friends, is the beginning of part 1 of our Cliff Richard interview.
Power to all our friends, to the music that never ends, to the people we want to be. Baby, power to you and me.
There's one old man, spends his life growing flowers and caring for the bees. Power to the bees. There's one old lady, spent her days making wine. The wine tasted fine. Power to the vine.
Played rock and roll, I made my life so sweet. And to the girls I knew before, and those I've yet to meet. Power to all our friends, to the music that never ends, to the people we want to be. Baby, power to you and me.
There's one strong man plowing in the valley. He's living off the land. Power to the land. There's some young girl laying down in Monte Carlo, laying in the sun. Power to the sun.
Power to the boys who played rock and roll and made my life so sweet. And to the girls I knew before, and those I've yet to meet. Power to all our friends, to the music that never ends, to the people we want to be. Baby, power to you and me. Power to the boys who played rock and roll, I made my life so sweet. And to the girls I
Cliff Richard and Pat to all our friends. Or Sir Cliff, I need to say at least once.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. All the better for hearing that.
I don't wish to name drop, but I interviewed Cilla Black the other week, and she mentioned going out to dinner with you because she was celebrating 50 years in the business.
That's right.
You're...
I wasn't here for that. I missed that.
Yeah.
But when she said going out to dinner with me, she mention that I am her chauffeur?
No, she didn't.
Because she lives just down the road from me in Barbados, and we tend to get invited to the same parties. So she'll call up. She'll say, "Are you going to so-and-so's party?" And I say, "Yeah, I'll pick you up at 7." So she doesn't drive.
Now, Pat, all our friends in music that never ends. Cilla's celebrated 50 years. You're on about 55, is it?
I'm on 55, yeah. And the 100th album. Yeah, I must admit, though, that it never struck me when I first started that I might still be singing and still having any kind of impact because, those early days, rock and roll was in its infancy, and people like me were written off as one-hit wonders or here today, gone tomorrow, and suddenly 10 years went by, and the Shadows and I did an album called Established 58. We did it in 1968 to celebrate 10 years. And that's when it struck me. I thought, wait a minute, though. We're not here today and gone tomorrow. Maybe it's here this decade, gone next decade, but that's not bad. So I thought, well, longevity, if you work at it, is possible. And it's here with me.
But what else would you do?
Well, if it all stopped tomorrow, I've often wondered whether I could be a sort of rock star consultant. Because I've been there, done that, know what it's like to demand things and not get what you want, and, studios and stuff like that. And I could probably be help to somebody. Whether I could be a manager or not, I don't know. Management tends to be more business-like these days. But I could certainly be helpful to someone kicking off a career who's never actually been on the road before and doesn't know the ropes, etc. So I could perhaps find a little job like that. But I've got a feeling at this stage, look, I'm 73 now. I don't look it, feel it, and I don't want to be it. And I can't see me stopping, really. I wouldn't mind stopping and then just working whenever I want.
Now, you once described yourself as the most radical rock and roll singer that there is.
I'm believing it more and more these days.
In that, so explain that.
Well, only because radicalism is about something that's really different. You're really different. And so far, every time people always talk about, and we've been through that period, and even though now still there's a great deal of misbehavior, and rock and roll gets the blame. It's nothing to do with rock and roll, it's the people that do it. And I remember reading about people thrashing up a hotel room, throwing TVs out the window, messing up the front seats of a jumbo jet. I never did that.
Didn't you ever secretly want to throw a TV out the window?
No. The secret thing I had was to play a real bad character. And when I did Heathcliff, I beat my wife up. She was pregnant at the time. I beat my stepbrother to pulp, but I took him to dinner afterwards. So it was not that bad, but I got it out of my system. You can do that to get it out of your system, but I felt that was kind of destructive for our industry, that really rock and roll is a neutral thing, but you can use it for anything. You can make your political statements known through rock and roll. You can give your viewpoints of Christianity or love or compassion, and music is wonderful to do all those things, but I just felt that sometimes our business was given a bad name. So I thought, well, I must be the radical one, because I haven't done any of those things. As I say, I'm the one that goes into hotels and sweeps up.
I've had many times, I can tell you, times when innocence I trade for company, and children saw me crying. I thought I'd had my share of that, but these miss you nights are the longest. Midnight diamonds stud my heaven, southward burning lie the jewels that I place, and the warm winds that embrace me, just as surely kissed your face. Yeah, these miss you nights, they're the longest. How I missed you, how I missed you, I'm not likely to tell. I'm a man and cold daylight buys the pride I'd rather sell. All my secrets are a wasted affair. You know them well. Thinking of my going, how to cut the thread and leave it all behind. Looking windward for my compass, I take each day as it arrives. But these miss you nights are the longest. Lay down all thoughts of your surrender. It's only me who's killing time. Lay down all dreams and things once remembered. It's just the same, this miss you game. Yeah, these miss you nights are the longest.
Cliff Richard and Miss You Nights. Now, you said you're 73.
Yeah.
And you say yourself.
I didn't want to say it again, though.
I don't look it. Have you had a little nip and tuck at all?
Well, I've not really bothered. I had Botox. I tried Botox. You know, when people say to me, "Oh, you've had a nip and tuck," I said, "Yeah, I had these creases put in to try and look older." I've got these creases around my eyes, and even when I have photography done, like for the calendar, I say to the guy, Alan Olley's a great photographer. I said, "Alan, I don't want any arty-farty stuff, but I just want to look good." And he said, "Don't worry, I'll never let the sun hit you." The sun apparently can be very critical, and so what he does is he flashes light at you, so your face just looks the way it looks with light on it. But I'd rather not have airbrushing done. I'd rather face the world as I am. So, but the Botox didn't work for me. My eyebrows seem to fall down. I seem to have eyebrows just above my eyes. So I thought that's not right. But if it had worked, I'd have had it all over the body.
Now, you're not a UK resident anymore. You're a resident of Barbados.
I reside in Barbados. You know, some years back, my business manager said to me, "You know, you only live 4 months of the year in England." I said, "Don't be ridiculous. I live in England." He said, "Look, you tour 4 months. You're 2 or 3 months in Barbados. You're 2 or 3 months in Portugal. You're only living here for 4 months." And he said to me, "If you're prepared to give up another month, then we could probably save some tax." I'm not a corporation, so I'm not going to save a massive amount. But I thought, well, you know, an extra 2 weeks in Barbados, an extra 2 weeks in Portugal, I could live with that. And I still get back here and do what I have to do. I still tour here. I still come and talk to people like you. It's to me, nothing's changed. Nothing seems to have changed.
That villa in Barbados, you lent it to Tony Blair for a holiday. Was that to support the Labour Party or just...
No, it was the individual that I was supporting because the war had happened. Remember that the war, he and Bush had got involved and that Middle Eastern war was going on. And I saw him on television and he looked more and more drained. And I was thinking, I wonder, that decision can't have been easy. And he's now living that decision. And so I knew Cherie a little bit. So I just said, look, there's nobody going to be here. It'll be August, I think it was. And I said, it just looks like you need to get away.
In 1975, you recorded a song called Honky Tonk Angel.
Yes.
And when somebody explained to you that was Southern American slang for the oldest profession, you immediately asked EMI to withdraw it.
I did, yeah. They were very disappointed because it had just come in the charts again. And I play it now again. It's not, the funny thing, we were led to believe it was, that it was like a prostitute, the honky-tonk woman. But the honky-tonk woman is just a lady that they hang around bars, and I suppose some men click. You know, this is nothing new, is it? People meet in all sorts of ways. And the honky-tonk angel, because the guy has been so mistreated by his partner or wife or girlfriend, he got a honky-tonk angel that takes him back in.
Jesus hung out with honky-tonk angels, so what's the problem with you having a record?
Well, that's true as well. I never thought of that. But it's just one of those things that at that stage I had freshly become a Christian and I didn't want to besmirch the faith. And so it was within my power to say, look, I don't want to sing this anymore. And I was about to go on to Russell Harty's show and I had to tell him I'm not going to sing it. He said, well, if you tell me why, it's okay. So I told him why and it was okay. But now, of course, I listen to it. It's so innocent, really.
So it's a no to Honky Tonk Angel, or it was then, but Devil Woman was okay. That's a warning record, I suppose, is it?
Well, it was a warning about the occult. You know, I go to this woman with the crystal ball. What's that? It's a woman who tells the future. And this one character has a bad deal with this woman. So I just changed a few. I didn't even change the lyrics. I added things like, beware the devil woman. You better get out of there fast. Stay away. And that's all it was. And, I know that it worked because there was one letter I got in Australia from a girl who said, I was such a fan of yours, and I was just about to become involved with the occult. In the widest sense of that word, I don't know what she exactly meant. And then her girlfriend said to her, you like Cliff Richard, don't you? She said, yeah. Well, she said, listen to this record. And then in her letter she said, I listened to your record and I heeded the warning in the lyrics. Now, so therefore I know. And she said, I am now a member of a church and she runs a Sunday school club. And I thought, wow, just by changing the odd word or adding an odd word, someone got a message. And so that's why that song was okay.
So I came into you, sweet lady, answering
Devil Woman by Cliff Richard. That's ending part one of our interview. Part two with Cliff will be in the next hour. And a couple of lovely emails here. Hi, Johnny. Listening to you and Cliff. Tell Cliff to keep touring for all us faithful fans. He's brill. Love from the Devil Women in Welling Garden City. And this one, I love the bit about Cliff saying, you know, I don't chuck TVs out of hotel windows. I'm the one who sweeps up. Patricia said, what a lovely man you are, Cliff. I run a holiday cottage in a remote bit of North Yorkshire. We'll give you a freebie. Just bring yourself and a duster. All right. So what does Cliff Richard mean to you? What's he meant to you throughout your life? He's been a big part of your life. If you're a Cliff Richard fan, I'd love to hear from you. It's walker@bbc.co.uk. You can text on 88291, and there's at BBC Radio 2 on Twitter and Facebook. And if you go to the Radio 2 page, there's a picture of Cliff on there. And if you click on Johnnie Walker's Sounds of the 70s, that'll take you to this programme's homepage, where there is a picture of me and Cliff together. And we should have rung each other up and had a wardrobe check, because there we are, both in sort of check casual shirts, you know. And I did send it out as a tweet a while back, saying, two old farts here trying to look young. So there you go. That's me and Cliff together. And more from him in the next hour. And now we get to part two of our interview with Cliff Richard. And I asked you earlier on just to text and email what Cliff means to you. And we've been absolutely inundated, as you can imagine, with a huge number of texts and emails. So just a flavour of them. He's been there since my teens. A comfort and a pleasure. Still sounding fantastic. I just love him, says Jenny. Julie Duff in Newton Moor. Cliff has been my rock through many hardships and my value base. Thank you to him. Hi, Johnny. Had one of Cliff Richard's records on my record player today. I'm 68. I've been a fan ever since I set eyes on Cliff. He is just the best. Julie from Hollyport in Berkshire. Johnny, my neighbour and friend Deirdre has to be Cliff's most devoted fan. She's photos and calendars all over the house, has got the latest CD and DVD, and is listening avidly now. Please say hello to her. And that's Anita in Beverley, so hi to Deirdre. And this one, I love Cliff. I was very young when Cliff's films came out. I remember queuing outside the cinema. We were right at the front of the queue, and when they opened the doors, we were just trampled as people rushed to get tickets for summer holiday. My mum took me for my birthday treat to the Palladium to see him. He's always come over as such a nice person and stuck to his beliefs. Cliff, we're all getting old together. Stay young in our hearts and heads. From Barbara in Portland in Dorset. Mary Holtz, and I'm 55, was born in July just before Cliff had his first single release. He's been part of my life for the last 55 years, and I can't imagine him not being in it. I first saw him at the Odeon in Leeds when I was 5. We've a vast music collection, but Cliff wins hands down. I cannot imagine life without him. He's always been there throughout all the ups and downs. And, you know, I was on the radio a fair bit on Radio 2 over Christmas. Some people might have thought, Johnny's working hard this Christmas. Take a break, lad. Well, actually, I did. And thanks to pre-recording, sneaked off to Australia to go to Perth, visited vineyards in Margaret River, swam in my brother-in-law's swimming pool in Cronulla, just south of Sydney, and also spent 3 days on a train, the Indian, what the hell was it called? Indian Pacific? Anyway, it runs from Perth to Sydney. Had a fantastic time, and each time you have a meal, you meet two different people at the table, and I met Kevin and Cece Broughton, and somehow the subject of Cliff came up, and I said, doing an interview with Cliff soon on my programme, and he goes, you've got to mention my mum. Her name is Suzette Stevens, known as Sue. She's been a Cliff Richard follower as long as I can remember, says Kevin. Her first concert in 1972, when Cliff performed at the Capitol in Cardiff. She's travelled around the world following concerts ever since, including a trip to Australia, using a visit to me as an excuse. She maintains a Cliff Richard Fan Club of Wales Facebook group, as well as being president of the Cliff Fan Club of Wales, which she runs from a flat in Cardiff, jointly with her friend Mags. Her last big update was a trip to London to pick up a bottle of Cliff's latest wine release. Congratulations. If you get the opportunity, it would be lovely if you could express my personal thanks to Cliff for being who he is, an amazing icon to so many, for the joy he brings to us all, for his sanity and clarity in a crazy world, but especially for the happiness that he brings to my mum. Lovely words, Kevin. And hi to you, Sue. And part two of our interview begins with a conversation when, and I mentioned Cliff declaring his faith in Christianity back in 1964. I asked him if he ever regretted being so public and open about his faith, and if he thought keeping it to himself might have been more beneficial to his career.
No, there was no need to keep it private, really. I always felt that if I really believed this, then I should be happy to talk about it. I mean, for instance, now we're talking about it. You brought the subject up, and that's what happens a lot. And I'd love the idea that we can talk seriously about music and this. And so, for me, it was not necessary to keep it private. It is a very private thing, though. I mean, it's something that is hard to explain because it's something that happens to you. It's hard to talk about a feeling of spirituality, that you feel like you're in touch with something that you can't see, have never seen, have never felt, don't even understand fully. And so it's a very personal thing, but I don't find any harm. And I met somebody, I was doing a signing session in Manchester just a couple of days ago, and this guy came up to me. He just looked like an everyday guy, white shirt, jacket, T-shirt, and he said, "I'm a minister." And I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Oh, what are you doing here?" He said, "Well, I want to have you sign this DVD. You're probably going to give it away, but whatever." And he said, "I read one of your books, and that's what led me." It didn't make him a minister, but it led him into thinking about things. And now he's a minister. So if I'd kept private entirely, we'd be short one minister.
I don't listen. You'd have kept your DVD. Sometimes you're modest, and other times you're not. He wouldn't have you sign your DVD to give it away.
Well, I don't know. He might, but I'm just saying that because I never know for certain, you know. But and modesty is something that I think is necessary. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a head so big. And of all the people around, even today now, I've been going for 55 years. I have every excuse to have the biggest head on the planet. But I've tried to infiltrate myself. We've talked about it. Like, no, keep your feet on the ground so that in actual fact, you can be very ordinary. And you're extraordinary sometimes. You know, when people like an artist, any artist, female, male, doesn't matter. When you go on stage, you wear different things, you do different things, you appear under lights and lasers. That's extraordinary.
And in 10 years' time, when you're 83, will you still be going on stage? Maybe you might need a Zimmer frame to get to centre stage. Would that be all right?
I don't think I'd do it with a Zimmer frame. If I could still walk, there's no reason why. The only thing is with the performance, though, and even now I feel I've modified my performances somewhat because there's a danger of looking ridiculous. And so, I mean, I made a joke of it when I appeared at the Albert Hall for my 70th birthday. I got my sister and her daughter to come on dressed as nurses, and I came on with a dressing gown and a walking stick. And they followed me on, you know, with a syringe and stuff like that. And of course, I came to the mic and I threw it off and went, "Fly me to the moon." And then they walked off with their syringes. So I kind of hinted that maybe the future has that to hold for me. But I've been very lucky with my health. I'm thinking of something obvious. I would be thinking of this. Federer, the tennis player, was asked once, you know, you've had number one for longer than probably anybody else in the tennis world. You know, what do you put it down to? And he said, probably 50% or more is owed to the fact that I never got injured. He never had a major injury. And in my life, I've never had a disastrous sickness.
From the things we say, from the people thinking that the world is okay. Save us, hallelujah. From the fighting nations, from the segregation, from the love of death. Save us, Jesus. Jesus, won't you come back to us? Come back to us. save us, Jesus. Jesus, won't you come back to us? Jesus, Jesus, come back to us. Save us from the destruction of love, destruction of happiness, destruction of freedom, the destruction of the world. Save us, hallelujah. Save us from the devil, save us from Satan, save us from hell. Save us, Jesus. Jesus, won't you come back to us? Jesus, Jesus, come back to us. Save us, hallelujah. Save us from the devil, save us from Satan, save us from hell. Save us, Jesus. Jesus, won't you come back to us? Jesus, Jesus, come back to us. Jesus, Jesus, won't you come back to us? Jesus, come back to us. Come on back. Jesus, Jesus, won't you come back to us? Jesus, Jesus, come back to us. Jesus, Jesus, won't you come back to us? Jesus, Jesus, come back to us. Come back to us. Jesus, Jesus, come back to us. Oh, come on back. Jesus, Jesus, won't you come back to us? Jesus, Jesus, come back to us. Come on back, come on back. Jesus, Jesus, won't you come back to us?
Cliff Richard and Jesus. I mean, there's always been persistent rumours about your personal lifestyle.
Oh, forever. I don't think that's ever going to stop.
No, which is entirely your business. Were they to be true, if you were public about it, would that not help a lot of Christian people in a similar situation?
Well, I don't know whether it would. I mean, it doesn't. For me, in the end, though, the end result is what you think of somebody. And I want people to like me. It's like when I go, I've got some friends in America, and when I met their families, they had no idea who I was. And I was sucked into their families, and they just loved me and accepted me because they liked me for some reason. I didn't sing a note, nothing. They didn't need to know anything about me personally. They didn't need to know what I liked or disliked, whether I was this or that. It was not of interest to them. They just liked me, and I thought that was such a great feeling for me. And I try to nurture that amongst people. I try to say to people, they say, do you know this about me? I say, no, I don't. Until I do, I'm not interested. If I like somebody, you can get on and have a relationship. Most of the times, of course, relationships that really count, you can count them on one hand, and if you're lucky, a bit of the second hand as well. So I have a lot of close friends and a lot of good friends, and they're not interested in anything other than me as a person.
I wonder if that's a price you pay of being in the business you're in, where you need to be liked, you need to be popular, you need to sell records, sell concert tickets. If you're really being yourself, you shouldn't care whether people like you or not. If you've got good self-esteem, you're happy with yourself, what's it matter what people think?
Well, it doesn't matter. It's not a matter of being because there's a lot of people who don't like me. Otherwise, they play my records on the radio. There's obviously a reason for that, but I don't know what it is. But I can't let it bother me because in the end, the only thing that counts is the people you touch. And if my family didn't like me, I'd be horrified and do everything I could to change that. What other people think of me, I can't control. And they must do what they want. In fact, if they don't like me, it'll tell you more about them than me.
Well, we're going to end on a great song, We Don't Talk Anymore. Brilliant production. Do you love this song?
I love it. You mentioned production. Bruce Welch produced it. Alan Tarney wrote it. I mean, you couldn't work with better teams than that. I worked with people like Alan and Terry. Terry Britton wrote me a whole album of songs. He's the one that wrote Tina Turner's What's Love Got to Do With It? He wrote it for me. Somebody in my office said it's not right for Cliff. Well, I mean, if I'd found out, they'd have lost their job. But so I've worked with great people, and to have them come with that track. Funny enough, though, they arrived at the studio I was working at with Terry Britton. We were doing an album called Rock and Roll Juvenile, I think. They said, listen to this, we've got this fabulous song, and they played it. I went, oh my God, that's wonderful. I'd love to do it. We'll do it for the next album. They said, no, we need to get it out now. And I said, oh. And they had the track ready, and I said, the only thing is, it's a little high for me. They said, well, and this has happened to me a lot. Alan Tully does this a lot to me. Wired for Sound, he'd said, yeah, but the track sounds good in this key, doesn't it? I go, yeah, it does. But he said, well, you can do it. And the thing is, of course, you can. In a studio, we spent time. It was high. I went into falsettos, and it was on the edge of my range. But I have to admit, that slight danger area is very, very commercial. There's just one falsetto note that I can get in the shower, and it's right at the end. It's really high. I can't quite make that anymore, except when I'm in the shower. I can do it in the shower.
Must be the moisture of the air.
Yes.
Sir Cliff Richard, thanks for being with us.
Oh, John, my pleasure.
Used to think that life was sweet. Used to think we were so complete. I can't believe you
Cliff Richard, we don't talk anymore, ending up part two of our interview with Cliff Richard. We did the chat at a studio in London shortly before Christmas, and we were together for about an hour, and a lot of jokes and a lot of laughter. It was a joy to meet Cliff Richard and spend some time with him. And if, he does look very young. If you want to know one of his secrets, he mentioned to us, he said, I don't eat any dairy and I don't eat any wheat. So there you go. But he said, I do eat bread made with spelt flour, which is a very ancient flour. Hard to find a spelt loaf, but maybe worth tracking them down if you want to follow his example. Cliff Richard's latest album, his 100th album, is called The Fabulous Rock and Roll Songbook. It's out now through Rhino Records, and you can find out more at cliffrichard.org.